Hello again, and welcome to TV Trivia Tumult. It's the finals of our trivia contest. Here's our guest, our special finalist, Bob 20 minutes from now. We got a special final question for Bob 20 minutes from now. If he gets the question correct, he wins a whole mess of cash or something. You ready there, Bob? Yeah, I'm ready as I'll ever be. I mean, how do I get involved in these things? Just calm down. You answer the question, you get some monies and stuffs. You ready? Now, we understand your category is professional wrestling. Why'd you choose that? I like it. Okay, good enough. Here's your question pertaining to pro wrestling. Who invented spackle? Spackle? Spackle. You mean the stuff that patch on walls? Yeah, who invented it? What does that have to do with professional wrestling? Well, it's on the walls and stuff. In arenas. You're full of it. I am sorry I ever got involved in this stupid trivia contest. Well, why don't you take a guess and see who invented it? Wild Bull Curry? Sorry, you lose. You son of a... You better watch your language. It's the Outdated Wrestling Hour first annual trivia contest. Oh, yeah, they're switching off their podcast apps left and right now. I can tell. Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Smith, and I'm your genial host of the Outdated Wrestling Hour. I hope everybody's in a good mood because we're going to have a wacky show today. This is for nothing but fun. This is our first trivia contest with a couple special guests, Anthony Pires, and you know him from Front Row Material and from this podcast, Mr. Liam Savage from the wilds of Canada. In any event, nothing serious today. We're just going to goof around. We're going to have a good time with trivia. I am going to give away a couple of prizes to the guys. I really hope that you enjoy this. The whole idea is to have a little fun on this one. Nothing serious, nothing topical. And I want you to play along at home. See if you can guess the answers to what I hope are some semi-challenging questions. And I hope they're hard enough to be a little bit brain teasery. Now, the rules are simple, and I'll explain them once I get the guests in the studio. But here we go, folks. Here's our first ever Outdated Wrestling Hour, Outdated Trivia Contest. Okay, we've been teasing this since June, doggone it. When I went to set this thing up, I had about 17 people write to me, go, yeah, I want to be part of the trivia contest. And then when the poop hit the fan and I started asking for dates and times, it turned into a cluster of unbelievable proportions. You know what I said? I'm going to wheedle it down to the people who have been most persistent, and they are here, both of them, for your listening pleasure. First of all, you know him, you love him, you've had him on the show a couple of times. It's Liam Savage from Front Row Material Podcast. How you doing?
Good, Bob. It's third time's a charm, I guess, right? So let's see how this works out. I would certainly hope,
yes. And our first appearance from a guy I really admire, and I really mean that sincerely, it's Anthony Pires. He's all over the wrestling scene. You hear him on John and Rizzi's podcast all the time. Welcome to my meager event. How you doing?
It's not just your pleasure or Liam's pleasure. It's the pleasure of everybody listening to hear the melodic tones of the voice of the greatest man that ever lived, Anthony Pires. Bob, Liam.
You should have been a wrestling manager, dude. I'm telling you right now. You sound like a 70s wrestling manager. These guys both have a real big wrestling background. I'm going to ask them some questions. All right. How many do I have here? You'll probably hear paper rattling, folks, but I don't care.
Let's Bob? See. Oh, my God. This is going to take all night.
Six. No, I have 15 questions.
Great.
All right.
Each is worth, I better get my scorecard out here. Each is worth 1 point. The final one will be worth 5. And we'll just take it from here. Now, here's the beauty part about this. I have talked about many of these subjects on both the podcasts I've been on. So if you've listened to me at all, you may have a little hint here and there about what I'm talking about. So in any event, the first question will be worth 2 points. Are we ready?
Ready.
I'm ready, Bob. I'm ready.
Okay, now I want the listeners at home to play along too. So I'm going to talk slowly so they can have a chance to hear. And by the way, these guys are battling for a couple of prizes here. So we'll tell what they is when they win them. And I know they both can use them. I'm happy with this because both of these guys deserve what I'm about to award them. So I think you're going to like what I have in store for you guys. You ready?
Ready.
Number 1, Jesse the Body Ventura began to do color commentary for the first time on TV for the then WWF syndicated All-Star Wrestling, which was broadcast in January of 1985. The question's a 2-parter. Each one is worth 1 point. Who did Ventura replace as color commentator? And if you want an extra point, answer who the lead announcer for All-Star Wrestling was at that point. Anthony, your finger's in the air.
He replaced Angelo Mosca and was with Jack Reynolds.
You got it. 2 points for Anthony. Wow, that was quick.
Okay. I was going somewhere else.
Liam, did you have that one or?
No. I was thinking San Martino on color for some reason. So I don't know why, but
I'll tell you what. Nobody remembers Jack Reynolds on the syndicated shows. He wasn't there very long, but
Original host.
he replaced McMahon. What was that, Anthony?
He was the original host of Primetime Wrestling.
Yes, he was, along with Jesse. That's right. People don't remember that either. So 2 for Anthony. Let me put Liam's name down here. Okay, let's go to our next question. I got a feeling these questions aren't as hard as I thought they were. Right. Anyway, go to number 2. What do Chris Candido, Sonny Blaze, Pinky Larson, and Balls Mahoney all have in common? Go ahead, Liam.
same hometown, I believe. Asbury Park or Nutley, New Jersey. One of the two, I think.
Nope.
No, damn.
Anthony, I didn't hear that. Repeat that.
Liam was going to say something.
No, I'm trying to work it out in my brain here.
I was going to say they debuted for Herb Abrams' UWF.
Nope, that's not either.
Okay.
Pinky Larson's a 70s guy.
Okay,
you both answered wrong. I'm going to go past this one. Here's the answer. They all worked on ring crews.
Oh.
They all set up rings before they became wrestlers.
All right.
Good one. Did you know Candido did that? And you know what? The first time I ever met Chris was at an NWA show. He was helping to set up the ring, and there's Tammy in the front reading a book. She wasn't even involved in any way at that point. So I guess a few things have happened to her since then. I don't know.
She's reading a few books now, Bob.
Okay. Oh, gosh. I shouldn't be laughing. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's number 3. What do Teddy Long, Danny Davis, Tony Altamore, Little Abner Osborne, Scott Armstrong, Dennis Stamp, Tommy Gilbert, and Bob Smith all have in common? Anthony.
They all started as referees.
You got it. I didn't start as a referee, but they all served as referees. That's true. I don't know if Dennis Stamp started that way, but he did end up refereeing a lot late in his career. Nice job, Anthony. All right, so our score at this point is Anthony 3, Liam. What do they say in Jeopardy? Just watching.
We have some nice parting gifts for you at the end. Yeah, that's where I am. So,
yeah. Now this next one I think is tough. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Stan Lane was a member of 2 legendary tag teams, the Fabulous One and the Midnight Express, right? Can you name another tag team championship team he was a member of? Just one will do, but you got to name the partner. Liam.
Heavenly Bodies with Tom Pritchard.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay.
So there's a point for Liam. Here's what I had written down here. He won a lot of championships with a bunch of different people. He was an NWA Florida Tag Team Champion with Brian St. John. Virginia, nobody's going to get this one. Virginia Tag Team Champion with Jeff Collette. Even I don't know who Jeff Collette is, right?
No.
Smoky Mountain Tag Team Champion with Tom Pritchard. And AWA Southern Tag Team Champion with both Coco Beware and Ron Bass.
Jesus, no.
All that stuff was before the other two teams, obviously. So and he had quite a career.
Yeah, the Bodies is the one that jumps out right away because I was thinking of all the kind of more well-known promotions, and then I was thinking Fabulous Ones, like Midnight Express, Heavenly Bodies jumped in there at the end for some reason. So there you go.
When I think of the Bodies, I think of Tom Pritchard and Jimmy Del Rey.
Right? Yeah, me too. Because that's the most famous. They got more eyeballs at that point, right? You're absolutely true about that. All right, now here's an easy one. I think. You ready? It's 3-1, by the way. Anthony over Liam. But we got a long way to go. Who comprised the first African American World Tag Team Champions for the WWF? Anthony.
Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas.
That is correct. Liam, you're going. Oh, did you have it?
No, I almost thought you were going down the path of WCW with Doom, and so I was about to say that, and then I went, oh crap! So
wrong league.
Yeah, wrong league. Yeah.
Here's another easy one. All right. Okay,
Yep.
get your fingers ready. This is easy. What NWA World Champion was stripped of the world title following a contract dispute in 1991? Anthony.
Ric Flair.
That's right. You probably had that one, Liam.
Everybody
Did you have
had
it?
that one.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody in the world had that one.
Yeah.
All right. I got more questions here, kids. Oh, here's some funny ones. Okay. Ready? What former pro wrestler appeared as a contestant on The Price is Right? Anthony.
Ox Baker.
That's right.
I'm getting too old for this. My recall is shot.
Is it? Is it really?
I had it.
No, I think you had that. Why? Well, you had your finger in here. What were you thinking?
No, I was like, it was there. It was at the tip, and I was just like, I was thinking, oh, I know the name, and then as soon as Anthony said it, I went, oh yeah, right. So,
guys, this is my life, Bob. I apologize. You're not meeting a cooler guy.
No, you're doing great. This is what I want. I knew you guys knew your stuff. That's why I'm happy that you two ended up being the contestants here. All right, now here's another one with a game show. Okay. This pro wrestler was a contestant on Hollywood Squares and won $1,300 in a new kitchen. Who's the wrestler? He didn't appear as a star. He'd appeared as a contestant. And he was already famous at this point. Go ahead, Liam.
I'll try Brutus Beefcake. That's the first name came to mind.
No.
I don't know why.
How about you, Anthony?
I'm going to say Bruno Sammartino.
No, get this. Nick Bockwinkel, and there's tape of it.
Really?
Nick Bockwinkel was on the Hollywood Squares, the original version, and you can see it on YouTube. Type it in on YouTube, and it'll come right up. And he was I can't believe it. He was famous at this point. He was an actor, too. And he was just a contestant looking to win prizes. I find that
80s?
hard to believe.
This late 80s? Would have been, Hollywood Squares, when I saw it at least, was in the late 80s, but I know it was probably on before that. But
yeah, this I think was way back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
Okay. All right, now we'll go back to the WWF. Name 4 wrestlers out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will accept 8 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Name 4 wrestlers who had a big red X placed on the screen to censor their violent matches in WWE, WWF, or WWF. Name 4 of them. Because it happened frequently. On the syndicated shows, but also it happened during the primetime wrestling era and all that other stuff. Go ahead, Anthony.
All right. Blackjack Mulligan with the claw.
That's right.
Ray Stevens with the pile driver.
I didn't. No, that's not on my list.
Okay, I'm wrong.
I don't think it happened. No. You can keep going if you got more.
I saw Greg Valentine get the big X one time. And then I saw George the Animal after he put a guy's arm out with the arm out of the socket. They put the X up.
Did they? Because I saw that clip and it was completely unexpurgated. I remember that one.
They showed it in future things. They're like, let's go back last week to what George the Animal Steel did.
And then they censored it?
The big censor.
You know what?
Ron Bass.
Yes, Ron Bass. You know what I'm going to do? You're both getting a point because he's pointing out censored stuff that I didn't know about. So that voids the question. I'm going to give you both a point for that. How's that sound? To be fair?
Good. Sure.
All right. So you're both getting a point. So now it is 7-2. The ones I had were Blassie, which was famous. The first one, I believe, in the history of the WWF that got censored was the Spoiler with his claw in 71 or 72. Baron von Raschke with another claw, and Blackjack Mulligan with another claw. Anybody that drew blood with a claw got the big red X. Don Morocco had a fight with Jimmy Snuka, and there was that.
Yes.
Jake the Snake Roberts, of course, with the snake bite.
Yeah.
Got a censored mark.
Yeah.
But you're telling me stuff I didn't know, dude. So that voids that question. So I'll consider that one moot.
Nerd. I'm such a nerd.
Well, let's be fair. I know this is all for fun, but you know what? You pointed out ones that I'm sure are accurate, because I'll tell you what. The story behind that George Steele thing, that guy was double jointed and he knew the kid from Detroit.
It turned out, I understand that George had him go around the circuit to do that.
He probably did. I no doubt, because was that incredible? Did you see it on Expert Day? Leon, I'm telling you, this clip is on YouTube. It looks like he ripped his arm out of his socket.
Oh, I believe
the guy was so double jointed, and you see his arm totally going in the opposite direction that it should. It's gross.
8 and 9-year-old Anthony was absolutely in awe.
I bet you were. Yeah.
And I'll tell you a quick story. The morning that happened, that Saturday, I went to a house show, and George the Animal was there, and I was terrified.
I bet you were. Yeah. Boy, am I old, because I was a full-grown adult when that thing happened. You were a kid?
I was born in '62, brother.
I got to go out and buy some Enfamil or something. I'm way past my prime. Holy smokes! All right, let's go to the AWA, shall we?
Yep.
Let's.
Who was the first world champion in 1960 and the last in 1972? No, 1992. Liam.
Oh, first, I would assume would be Vern Gagne, just to make it easy, and then the last would be Zbyszko.
You only got 1 out of 2.
Oh.
The first AWA world champion was Pat O'Connor.
Really?
Yeah.
I just thought it would be
in fact,
choice.
I think Vern came into the organization a little after that, if history serves.
Okay.
Where Pat O'Connor was the NWA champion. And to give Vern credibility, they had him beat O'Connor for the AWA title.
Mm-hmm.
I give it. You know what? Give it to him, because
What did you say?
Give it to him, because Vern was the first guy to win the title. O'Connor was simply crowned champion.
He was crowned champion, but he was champion.
Yeah, but he didn't win it. Vern won it.
You know what? I'll go along with you. I'll give Liam that one too.
I appreciate that.
You're being a little technical, but you're absolutely right. That is exactly how it worked. But you have to say that Pat Patterson was Intercontinental champion. They just threw him that belt too.
Yes.
There was no tournament in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, no.
Right?
Antonio Rocca, I thought, for the
Pat Patterson?
Yeah, he was the South American champion. Patterson,
No, he was the North American champion.
Yes, Patterson was North. Rocca was South American champion, and they fought for the title in Rio.
No, that's bullshit.
I'm making.
Yeah. Antonino Rocca, it's like 2 decades away from each other. Don't pull my leg. My leg is old. All right. No, seriously, you agree with that, right? The first pattern, they changed the name of the the North American Championship, called it the Intercontinental Championship, and said, who did they say he beat in Rio? Who did they say he beat? I think
they said he won a tournament in Rio.
Rio, right.
Like South American champion. I just threw Rocca in there as a South American wrestler.
Oh. Okay. Oh. All right, here we go. Let's go another one. This is a good one. This question goes back to when the WWF had just one top champion. Which WWF World Champions, remember, were just at that point lost by submission? Name 3 of the 4. Okay, Anthony.
Okay, we had Buddy Rogers lost by submission.
Right.
We had Bob Backlund, who technically lost by submission.
Right.
And God, after that, we had Ric Flair, who lost by submission.
He did?
Bret Hart beat him, but with the sharp.
Yeah.
You're both getting a point because that's not what I have. I had my answers were Buddy Rogers, Bob Backlund, Bret Hart, and Mankind.
Huh.
That's I researched that, and somebody had come up with that question elsewhere, and I said, "Oh, I'll use that one," and that was the answers they gave. So again, to avoid all controversy, you're both getting a pernt because this is all for fun. But you know what? We're learning stuff here, and I hope the listeners are too. So we got a contest here. It's 8-4. All right, this is nice. All right, name any three of the cohorts. Excuse me, terrible word. Remember Kevin Sullivan's evil cult stable in Florida Championship Wrestling? Okay. Just name any three of them. Anthony's got his finger in the air.
We got the Fallen Angel.
Yep.
We got Maya Singh, who was Bob Roop.
Bob Roop, that's right.
And we do have Billy Graham, who was part of that group.
Yes, you got it. The list I have goes Mark Lewin, also the Purple Haze, Bob Roop, Maya Singh, Mike Davis, Fallen Angel, The Lock, Jake Roberts, Buzz Sawyer, Sir Oliver Humperdinck, Superstar Billy Graham, Luna Vachon, Karma / Maloki, what the hell? King Curtis, Incubus, The Saint, The Dream, and Reverend Black.
Remember when Mike pretended to be Dusty Rhodes?
That was great. I loved that. I thought that was a great angle. I really did. He'd come out and Liam, if you've never seen, he comes out, "How you doing, baby?" He actually talked like him. He had a robe. It was really stupid, but it worked. Mike Davis was really funny.
Let me tell you something, Bob Smith and Liam. You hear what the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, the sweetest man in the whole wide world, Daddy.
He's got it, doesn't he?
He's got it.
He's got it. All right. Abdullah the Butcher had literally dozens of managers. Okay? According to Abby himself, who managed him the longest? Neither of you is getting this one, I'm telling you right now. Try it, Anthony.
I'm going to guess Farouk.
No.
Okay.
Neither of you getting it, and I'll tell you why. It was late in his career. I see you don't have it. Do you have an answer at all? It was Honest John Cheatham.
Oh, Jesus.
The guy he ran around with for 10 years at the end of his career at all the indie shows.
Oh, Jesus.
Really?
Yeah. You remember the guy, right, with the hat, really big fat guy?
I know who it is now, yeah.
He was with him forever.
Bob, don't make fun of big fat guys because,
Hey, dude. No, I'm not going to take my coat off. Jeez. Here's an easy one.
Getting naked. Come on.
All right, we're coming around the bend here. You ready?
Yep.
Easy one, I think. What pro wrestler was a cast member of Survivor? Anthony.
Ashley Massaro.
Okay. There's actually two people that were on Survivor.
Who's the other one?
John Morrison.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah. All right, this is my favorite question. I have saved this for last. The score right now is 10-4. But this is going to be fun. All right, now listen intently. All right, boys? Here we go. Here are 15 legendary bad guy wrestlers and where they're billed from. Ready? Ivan Koloff from Moscow, Russia. Abdullah the Butcher from Khartoum, Sudan. The Sheik from Syria. The Iron Sheik from Iran. Kamala the Ugandan Giant from Africa. Roddy Piper from Glasgow, Scotland. Baron von Raschke from Germany. P.Y. Chuhai from Japan. Baron Mikhail Cicluna from the Isle of Malta. Yoko Zuna from Japan. The Mongolian Stomper. The Mongols tag team from Mongolia. Stan Stasiak from Buzzards Creek, Oregon. And Waldo von Erich from Berlin, Germany. Here's the question. Only two are actually where they were billed from. Who are they? Liam.
Baron Mikhail Scaluna? I've always got that screwed up. Cicluna, yeah, there you go. I believe that was the first, and the second would be Stasiak.
So close.
Oh, now I'm going back through. Oh, Damn it.
Anthony, who's the other one?
The Iron Sheik was from Tehran, Iran.
Yes, he was. He was really
I
from there.
screwed that up.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give you both the point, which makes our final score Anthony 11, Liam 5. You both did great.
Terrific.
Anthony wins. Now, here's your prize. Now, you can't see this at home, but I'm going to show it to the boys. Anthony, everybody needs one of these. This is the exact brand and make of podcast mic that I used for a year on the John Arizzi show.
Sweet.
And I used it for the first 5 episodes of this show. It's a bargain of a lifetime. It's not all that expensive, and it's usable. All you have to do is plug it in USB on your computer, and you've got a mic that sounds professional. So there you go.
Bob, I thank you so much.
Now, as for Liam, you're getting one too, dude.
Wow.
This is a different brand. It's an on-stage audio, right?
All right.
I had these checked out. These are both absolute professional quality podcast mics, or use them for Zoom meetings, use them to talk on the phone, whatever you want to do with it. And it plugs, like I say, right in your USB. Use the volume on your computer to turn it up and down, and you've got yourself some good sound. So I'm telling you, you guys will enjoy this stuff. So all I need is for both of you to send me your addresses, and you'll get those in the mail. I'll put them out tomorrow.
Although,
that's great.
This is for fun. Bob, I know this is for fun.
Right.
But I need you to declare a winner the way Joe McHugh would have, please.
Joe McHugh. Ladies and gentlemen, the time was 17 minutes and 42 seconds. Your winner, Anthony. How would he say your name? Anthony Pires. Pires. I actually do it better, Bob Freed, because he mispronounced everything. Remember Friendly Bob Freed?
You have to remember Joe McHugh, ladies and gentlemen. This is championship wrestling.
That's great, man. That's good.
Winner, Anthony Pires.
That's right. You would roll his R's.
My name is Joe McHugh.
You know, late in my PWI tenure, I used to go to the Savoldi shows in Pennsylvania, and I did some color commentary. I took pictures, worked, and did some commentary on TV. At one point, Savoldi comes out, I want to interview this guy. I said, what guy? I'm looking around. He goes, Joe. He says in his entire career, nobody ever interviewed him. I said, really? And I got to do a TV interview with Joe McHugh. And you know what? He introduced people like Muhammad Ali and religious leaders, and he had a long career in Pennsylvania. He was on his, he was right near retirement then. And oh my God, his family went nuts. I ended up just sending pictures to them. And when Joe died, they asked if I could send them some more pictures to use at his funeral. I said, absolutely, I will. And so I got to know him, and you know what? Beautifully crotchety old guy. He was exactly as you think he would be. Hey, you doing, pal? One of those, he was a great guy. And you know what? Who didn't love him?
The very first show I went to in Providence, Rhode Island, I was disappointed because Joe wasn't the ring announcer. I'm like, oh, I want, and my name is Jim McHugh.
Everybody wanted to hear him. It's true. It's true. We had some wacky East Coast announcers. Liam, up in Canada, did you have any announcers that were particularly memorable or?
No. Really?
But you
not to this degree, no.
But you had Milt Ruskin on Gina Brito's show back in the '80s, and he was one of a kind. He was the lead announcer. Mm-hmm. He always sounded like he should have been calling horse races and not. Yeah. And they're getting in the ring and they're jumping on. He had a kind of a sports cadence to his announcing.
Though, just an interesting fun fact is that you remember how I was going on about Vancouver wrestling the one time I was on. And during that run, that's how Mauro Ranallo got his start. He was a manager there. Yeah, he was a manager there, late 80s. And
wait, stop it right there. He was a character?
Yes.
That's the last guy. That's the last guy I would think was involved in wrestling that way.
He was a manager, and I kind of lost track after that. And then next thing I know, he's doing MMA and kickboxing and all sorts of stuff. So
I saw the bipolar rock and roller a whole bunch of times on the in the North.
Really?
He was great.
Yeah, you know something? As an announcer, he's really good. God,
Friggin'
he's like one of those natural guys, just totally natural.
I like him in a technical sense, but then when he starts rattling off pop culture references every other sentence, I kind of lose track and I say, okay, I gotta mute the TV or something. But technically, excellent. No problems there.
Well, I was always proud of Joey Styles because people don't know this. He worked as an intern with PWI when I was there.
Mhm.
And to see him blossom, and I was there today. He met Paul Heyman. He came to the office, Paul did. And I'm telling you, I was so proud of that kid. Great kid. I love Joey. Joey was fantastic.
Yeah.
You guys ever meet him?
Never.
I never got that opportunity, no.
No, he was you know something, even when I got to know him when he was working in the office, he's one of those guys that walked in and just did the job. I forget if he was interning or he had a heel column in one of our magazines, as Joey Styles was the byline in it. And
Remember.
he knew everything. I mean, he was only like in his 20s. He knew the old stuff, the new stuff. He was working it. And when he met, I always loved to tell the story. We had a conference room with like clear glass, windows in it. And I see Paul in there and he's talking, moving his hands around. And I see Joey's moving his hands around and I could smell the bread cooking, and I knew they were going to work together right from that moment. So it was one of my favorite memories. It really is, because to see one of our guys make it on national TV was really cool.
He's no Jay Sully. I'll give you that much. But pretty good. Pretty good.
But who is Jay Sully? I mean, really, seriously.
Well,
there's only one Jay Sully.
I'm sure he's a tremendous guy, but every time I watch that first year maybe of ECW, and Stevie Wonderful was okay, I guess, but you get Jay Sully on there, and my name's Jay Sully. I'll be bringing the play-by-play tonight. And I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. But
I'll tell you
nice guy, but geez.
I'll tell you one thing, guys. I was their original choice to be the host of ECW TV shows.
Yeah.
And I finally got to see myself with Stately Wayne Manor on the WWE Network, of all things. They dredged up the very first full-blown TV taping they ever did, and I was the host. And I thought I sucked. And after a couple of tapings, I said, I don't have it. My voice is too high. I just didn't think I had it. 30 years later, somebody slams the thing on the WWE Network. Three matches that we both announced. It turns out we had funny banter. I look back at it, and it wasn't nearly as awful as I thought it was. Still, I'm glad Joey walked in. I'm glad he got the gig. He deserved it. He was the announcer of the year in the Observer for like 7 straight years, right?
Guy.
Yeah. He's just natural, total natural. So, Anthony, how do you know all these wrestlers? Tell our listeners what you do. You're always around the wrestling scene.
Well, you know what? I am a card-carrying member of Conrad Thompson Podcast Network. I'm a top guy, so I get to talk to all kinds of stars. Eric Bischoff, Tony Schiavone. Just recently, I talked to Buff Bagwell, Rebel from AEW, and I also work for the immortal Mike Johnson and Dave Scherer at PW Insider. So I get to cover a lot of wrestling. So I'm a lucky SOB, my man. I love
so basically you're the Bob Smith of 2023, because I used to do that stuff because you write and stuff like that. So you have taken over, you youngster, you.
But
I don't know how you do it. You're all over the place between football games and sporting events and wrestling and this and that.
I am a 31 year season ticket holder to the New England Patriots.
Right.
I sit 13 rows from the field, and that's my passion. All this year, they're testing my patience.
I'm sure they are. Yeah, it's a shame.
I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. And Liam, what's going on with you, man? What's happening? Now you have hinted at doing another podcast, and it's from a conversation we had recently. You're kind of veering that way, aren't you? Trying it again?
I am. I told you this originally, is that I don't like to do anything until I'm 100% ready to go. So I don't want to start half-assed. I need to use my whole ass. So having said that, there are ideas in the work. I have a few different show ideas, and I'm trying to see what would actually work best what wouldn't be something is already copied on the market, and so on and so forth. So I do have one I'm leaning towards right now, and I'm going to try to get that off the ground as soon as I can. That's the best I can say.
Well, I hope it works out, and you got to let me be the first person you tell. Okay, I want to tell my listeners that you're doing that, and I'm so proud. I'm so proud to have both of you guys listen to my show. I'm telling you, I started this thing real fast in January. I cannot believe how much success I'm having with this thing already. It's been a blast. Like I said, every time I sit down with wrestling people or the people I knew years ago, all the years melt off me, and I feel younger, and I'm having a great time, and that's what it's all about, really. And to be able to niche it, I'll never be in the top 20 because, the wrestlers deserve to be in the top 20. That's my opinion on podcasting. Well, people want to hear what the wrestlers did, their anecdotes, their histories, and all that, and that's how it should be.
Bob, I'm just freaked out by the fact that I'm talking to the former managing editor of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. That freaks me out.
Well, I appreciate your kindness, but you know what? I am a glorified fan, dude. Just a glorified fan.
Look at it this way, Bob. You have a podcast that's serving something different in that you were in the industry for a good amount of time during its heyday, and were on the inside as well. And you have lots of different contacts that people in today's podcast for wrestling don't have, and you're serving something different, and it's the outdated content, quote unquote, but it's still something that a lot of people want to gravitate towards because it gives them a lot of great memories, and you're doing that every week. And it's not just the same stuff every week. It's always delving into something different. And I don't know how you keep coming up with different ideas and different guests to service that, but you're really doing great.
Well,
you're here, Liam. I second that.
Yep. Thanks. But the whole idea here is to try to spread the feeling I had when I was 11, 12, into my high school year, 16, 17, 18, of going to my first shows, seeing real wrestling live, the feeling I got from it. Like I always say, I went to Albany, New York to see my first wrestling shows. It was usually one good main event and a bunch of jobbers, like 4 jobber matches. Yet I never walked out of that armory thinking, what a lousy show, or that wasn't good. I always walked out with little clouds under my feet. That's how much I loved it. And I know that kids today feel that same way about, the bigger production that WWE and AEW and that stuff is. But I don't want the old stuff to get forgotten. Every year we lose so many superstar wrestlers from when I was a kid. And I want them to be remembered. And I want people to dig up videotape. And through this thing, I've met Dave Dynasty and other people who do this incredible job of, for nothing, they're putting these classic old matches on YouTube because they're copyright free. Nobody claims them anymore. Those old Chic matches aren't copyrighted anymore.
You know how much I get paid from PW Insider to talk wrestling?
I can't even fathom.
Not a dime.
Right.
I just love it so much. Guys like you were the cornerstone of helping me love it, because tell you, in my basement right now, under lock and key, I must have 9 or 10 years of Pro Wrestling Insider, the Wrestler and Inside Wrestling, all managing editor Bob Smith. That was the writing of my childhood.
Wow. Yep. This is why I made a cardinal mistake when I left PWI, because, my life was changing. I was becoming a musician at that point. I'd met somebody, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of just tipped my cap and walked away from it. Didn't even think about it. Didn't even have a big selection of back issues. Nothing. 30 years goes by, and I do the podcast with John and Rizzi, and I'm discovering that people valued the work I did way back when, the old PWI 500, the first couple of them that I did all by myself, other things that I wrote, and people start posting stuff on Facebook and Twitter, old articles that I did. You wrote this, you wrote that. And I'm thinking, holy smokes, people actually remembered this stuff. Mm-hmm. I honestly really didn't fathom that all these years later people would remember. I really didn't.
As soon as Resi announced that Bob Smith was joining, I'm like, oh, that's the PW Illustrated guy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Trust me, Bob. Trust me, Bob. The old fans know exactly who the hell you are.
Yeah, that I you know something? It shocks me, and I'm very grateful for it. I really am. I mean, Liam, I'm serious. I really didn't think anybody would remember that stuff.
Well, you're a
more
humble
people
guy.
remember than I can fathom. I'm telling you.
You're a humble guy, but that's the thing. That's you've contributed to the industry that you love so much, and people remember that. Now, were you in the ring every week? No, but were you translating everything to the masses that maybe wouldn't be able to see certain promotions or find out about certain wrestlers without that magazine? I was one of those guys. Anthony was one of those guys, and a lot of the listeners too. And it's something that you can hang your hat on to say, I made a difference, and in the profession that I love, I made a difference, and that's something you can take with you.
Well, and you make a good point there, and I'll tell you why. One of the things. Go ahead, Anthony. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Liam almost made me cry right there.
But you know what I am proud of from my PWI days is they let me do the introducing column, and I think it was in the Wrestler Inside Wrestling. I can't remember which one it was. I know. I gave Rob Van Dam his first publicity. Sid Vicious his first publicity. Dustin Rhodes his first publicity. I mean, go down the list. Yeah, there's a lot of people. I think one of the Hardys, I'm not sure. My memory gets a little fuzzy. But if you grabbed a bunch of issues between 88 and 94 or 93 when I left, I would miss sometimes, but I loved going to indie cards and coming back to the office and going, we got to write about this guy. We got to write about that guy.
Yeah.
And if we had the photos, we would do it, because we wanted to introduce new talent to people.
And Bill, Bill had the photos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Bill was the glue that made it all work. He really was. We talked about it on this show. We're kind of letting the cat out of the bag of how we did the magazines back then. In fact, he's on a show that's going to precede this show. He was the glue. He was the conduit between both the wrestlers and the promotions. See, it wasn't just the promotions. It was the wrestlers themselves. Everybody knew Bill. Bill was a gadabout. He would ingratiate himself with everybody. So he would hire the freelance photographers, the great ones like Bill Otten and Linda Rufa, and the people who would travel the country and work in various territories. So when we would put a new magazine together, he would walk over with a stack of photos and a bunch of concepts. These guys are feuding. This guy's new here. This guy, look at these bloody pictures. Look at this. And we would come up with the magazine based on what he handed us every issue. Bill Apter was the backbone of that whole company.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Even though there was Stanley Weston mags, that's why we all called them the Apter mags.
That's right. Well, according to Bill, it was Dave Meltzer that came up with that term, and it just stuck.
Oh yeah.
And that was relatively late too, probably the late '80s when he dubbed them the Apter mags. Well, and everybody thought Bill ran the company, but Bill was an employee like the rest of us.
He was the face.
When I started in 1981, 82, I thought Bill ran the whole thing.
Yeah, you would, and rightfully so, because they made him the figurehead of, he did all the TV publicity. Once in a while I would get on TV, once in a while, and Craig Peters was on TV quite a bit, but basically he was the voice and the face of the London publishing magazines, for sure.
I actually had an old VHS, and I think you guys probably remember it, Lords of the Ring, and it was the first... Yeah, it was the first wrestling VHS from what I remember. And I still have a copy, actually. And when I was watching it, and it's like, oh, I'm Bill Apter from Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Big logo in the background, and there's Gordon Solie on the other side. And he was just identifiable in that sense because he was on Crockett TV as well. You'd see him taking pictures ringside, until he wasn't allowed to. And, that's a different story. But, there's a lot of identifiable qualities of him tied to that magazine because he was always the face of it. Every time I would see him, I just think PWI,
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. He was the face of it. And
every Tuesday at my newsstand, a new magazine would drop. And I had to run down there. And finally, in like 85, 86, for Christmas, I got the Wrestler, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Inside Wrestling, and the Quarterly. And I kept that till about 94.
Boy, you are blowing my mind, Anthony, because you nailed it. That's right. The national release date of the magazines was Tuesday.
Tuesdays.
That is absolutely correct. That's when they came off the truck.
I do not remember my children's birthdays. I don't remember my anniversary. But God, I just know Tuesday at Brooks Drugs was when Pro Wrestling Illustrated, The Wrestler, Inside Wrestling, and the Quarterlies would drop.
Well, you see, guys, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm trying to impart on my listeners. And I know they all feel the same way. They wouldn't listen to the show. As being a teenager, going into the newsstand, we had a newsstand that was inside a diner. And my friends and I would sit there and eat cheeseburgers and read about Greg Valentine and Chief Stay Strongbow and that era of guys. And we had a blast. And then when we got old enough to drive, we would all go to the wrestling matches together. That vibe, that feeling, that discovery of wrestling when you're young is what I'm trying to impart on people. And remember that this stuff's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a respite from the real world rather than a reflection of it. I think it's part of the problem with wrestling today is they don't make that distinction a whole lot. You hear more about the backstage squabbles than the angles in the wrestlers themselves. So, people are more interested in the dirt rather than the action.
Well, because sometimes that's more interesting.
Well, that you make a point, but but we talk about this on the show too. It's like when a young person sits down to watch wrestling, they're kind of booking it in their minds these days. When I was a kid, they were rooting for the good guy.
Yeah.
It's an entirely different mindset, entirely different feeling. Look at this. Now, Anthony is showing off his unbelievable collection here. He has one of those 4 Horsemen jackets. Yes, I remember those.
Signed.
Those are from my period. That was from around 88, I think, Anthony.
Do you see the autographs?
Yes.
That is signed by J.J. Dillon, Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, and Barry Windham, and Lex Luger.
Wow, amazing. All those guys. Wow.
That is the pride of my collection.
Now, if you could just get the Paul Roma on there, then you're 100% set.
Oh, my God, you're jogging my memory. Dude, I had one, and when I left the company, I left it in the office.
The weird thing was...
I had a 4 Horsemen jacket. I had that jacket.
About 3 years ago, Arn Anderson started selling those jackets.
That's right, yeah.
So I bought one, but unfortunately, idiotic Anthony, I bought an adult small. No offense. I don't fit into adult small. So locally, Barry Windham showed up locally to sign autographs. I had him sign it. And then I met Arn. I had him sign it. And then StarCast, a year ago, we had Lex, JJ, Tully, and Rick. I had to fly out. I had to drive out there to get them to sign it. And then I had it framed.
Now, am I right about that? Is that one of the 80s, 90s jackets that they used to sell? Yes, yeah. God, I had that jacket. And I realized when I left, it was so tough when I left PW. When I left that company, this sounds very unprofessional, and it was. The new company I was going to said, "We want you here Monday."
Yeah.
I found a new job, and they said, and it was like a Thursday or a Wednesday. And I went to Stu Sachs and said, "I got to go. You guys are moving. I see you." Because I was really worried about my financial world at that point. They pulled the rug out from under your feet. I wasn't going to Pennsylvania. I just bought property. So I tell Stu, and he said, "Fine, it's fine. You can go ahead. We won't hold it against you." But I left everything behind there. I grabbed a stack of magazines about an inch thick, waved at everybody. They took me out to lunch that day, and that was it. I didn't take anything with me. And that's one of my big regrets because I only have about 15 magazines from all the years I worked there. Yeah. But, luckily, Colin Bowman called me not long after that. I ended up working for WCW Magazine when he ran it. And then Apter calls me, and I end up doing some articles for WOW. And then Sandy Krebs finds me, and I end up working for Wrestling's Main Event for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, right before they folded. So I made some nice contacts, and my phone kept ringing. They found out I was a free agent. And they said, "Will you do some stuff for us?" So nice, Yeah. So I have that little tiny legacy, my little fingernails part of wrestling history. This part right here, I think.
But it's to guys like me, it's huge. It's not little, it's huge.
Yeah.
But that's what makes me feel good, because if you were entertained, that's the whole idea.
the magazines, I don't know, Liam, I don't know how old you are or whatever, but the magazines meant something.
Well, I'm 45, so you know why I was reading them. So, yeah.
I'm 6 years older than you, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah,
But
they meant a lot.
And again, there's a beauty part about the period when I did work there, because, you know, by the time I left in 93, 94, because I still freelanced for PWI for a while before I left, it was still, at that point, territorial. The territories hadn't died by that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was still the number one way to find out about people in Georgia, or if you didn't live there, or Florida, or Continental, or Memphis, or, you know, or Calgary, if they were still running at that point. But it seems like the moment I walked out the door, the territory started dying one by one by one. Yeah. And that made me sad, because I love the territories. I love covering the territories. Love Memphis. Oh, Memphis, God. A real highlight for me was going to Memphis for a week. It was fabulous, man.
Well, look at it this way. Since I'm in the Toronto area, and I would know about a lot of the Toronto wrestling that was happening. When I was reading the magazine, I would learn about people in like the promotions in Quebec and the Maritimes and all that, like out east. And you know, I'd always remember reading the house show results in PWI, and it would have one of the Montreal promotions, and Mark the Grizzly. I remember that name for some reason, but I always remember seeing that, and I start reading these names, and you know, seeing how many times Jerry Lawler won the USWA title, probably 553 by this count, and
3 times per PW Insider, PW Illustrated. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, but it was great, because I would. That was the first time I ever saw Abdullah the Butcher. Was in the magazine. Scared the crap out of me, but it made an impression. And you start reading about, you know, the Von Erichs and the Japanese stars, and it opens up a different world for you, and you're thinking, man, if I can just get out of this bubble I'm in right now and be able to see a tape of something else, that'd be great. And when the 90s came along, tape trading happened, and that's when you really, all the stuff that you're reading before, it all comes to fruition in your brain. You're thinking, now I get to put, you know, video to this, and I can finally start to really enjoy what I've been reading about for so many years. But you guys helped bring that out to the forefront. If it wasn't for you and Meltzer and people like that, we wouldn't have had the depth of knowledge about the rest of the wrestling world.
Well, I'll tell you, there's another factor you just brought up. You know, I started with PWI in 88, sat down green as a pool table, you know, every bit of square. And sat down, and they started handing me videotapes. Here's a tape from Continental. Here's a tape from Calgary. Here's a tape from Memphis. Here's a tape from blah, blah, blah. Here's Emmy Yates in Atlanta, who would send us Joe Pedicino's 8-hour wrestling block on Saturday nights. 8 different shows all in the same videotape. Right? Man. And I watched every freaking frame of those things. Every frame. There wasn't any wrestling I didn't like in those years. I liked the flavor of it all. You know, they had a WWE FB show. They had a WCWC show on those tapes. Yeah. But you know what? I learned so much. You know, I knew a lot about a couple of the federations when I walked in, but when I walked out, I really knew a lot. You know, it's like my knowledge base just exploded. And the fact that I was willing to jump in the car and travel and see indie shows all over the country, that just made it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was actually one TV show we had on our sports network here that was hosted by Ed Whalen from Stampede Wrestling.
Really?
And it was called Pro Wrestling Plus. He said, "This is Ed Whalen with Pro Wrestling Plus," and then he would show. It was almost like, from what I understand of Joe Pedicino's show, it was showing different things from around the country. But this would show you what was happening in World Class. It would show you what was happening in Japan. It was crazy. It was only an hour each week, but I started to see all these different things, and that helped complement the magazine. And it was just crazy, just the different things you could see back then. And like I was telling you a long time ago, was that, you know, I had TBS as well in Canada. So I was able to see Crockett, and I was able to see Vancouver wrestling. I was able to see Montreal. I was able to see all the stuff from Maple Leaf Gardens. I was, you know, all that stuff. So I was lucky in that sense. But, you know, the magazine and that one TV show helped kind of push everything out there for me. It was crazy.
Well, Anthony, we'll go to you now because I know what my memories were and how I got hooked on wrestling watching Johnny Powers and Abdullah the Butcher around 1970. What hooked you in the beginning? Beginning.
I will tell you a story like it happened yesterday, Bob and Liam. It was a spring day, early spring 1981. It was raining, so I could not go out to play after Saturday morning cartoons. Okay, and I was done watching the Richie Rich, the Super Friends, and everything. And the next thing that came on was Championship Wrestling. The very first match I ever saw in my life was a 6-man tag team match with World Tag Team Champions Tony Garea and Rick Martel and their partner, Andre the Giant. And my God, seeing Andre the Giant, my little 7-8-year-old eyes bulged out. Couldn't believe what I was seeing. From that day on, and there's a lot of wrestling fans who watched wrestling as kids and they got out of it after a certain point. I never did. I have been a tried and true fan since 1981. True story. About 5 or 6 weeks after that day, Andre shows up on TV on crutches after the diabolical Killer Khan broke his ankle. And as soon as that happened, they announced the very first show of my fandom in my hometown, Andre versus Killer Khan. Oh, you damn right I was there. You're damn right. 8-year-old Anthony was in that crowd at the Providence Civic Center watching Andre whoop some serious ass for revenge.
That is a great story. Liam, how about you? Was there a moment, was there something you saw on TV? Was there something live that just made you go, boing, this is for me?
I mean, I came into it around, I think the earliest memory really is 84 or 85. And I think I told you a while ago, it was the first real memory I had. It wasn't a specific match, but it was seeing Kamala come out to the ring.
You're the guy, that's right. Yeah. I just referenced that and I couldn't remember who told me this. That's
right. It was in WWF.
Okay.
And he was walking out to the ring though, had that mask on, and right away I'm thinking, what the hell is this? And then, and then he takes the mask off, and then you see the face paint, and I'm just completely freaked out. But it drew me in because I'm like, I got to see what happens next. This guy's nuts, and it just kind of grew from there. And I guess Hulkamania kind of took me over like every other kid. I remember having a birthday party with the WrestleMania 2 theme. My parents threw for me and things like that. But it was all that. And then when I really got into it as growing up in high school and all that, it was Bret Hart that drew me into how everything could look real.
Nice.
And he made it real. He made it, to this day. I've shown matches to a younger guy at my work. He brings his laptop. I bring in my hard drives. I show him some old stuff, right? Because he's like, oh, I'm interested in seeing this stuff. So I show him Bret Hart, and I showed him Bret Hart versus Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13.
Oh,
and he's looking at it going, oh my God, like what the hell? And the part where Austin passes out from the lack of blood, and he just thought he was like, wow. And then he saw Ken Shamrock at the end, throw him around. He just thought it was great. Stuff like that is what drew me in. I need to know that there's some semblance of reality to it. So one of the best people you could ever ask to see that, Bret Hart, because he made everything look real.
Here's the beauty of all this, guys. We're all older. We're full-grown adults now, but every so often you'll watch a match, and you can still get lost in it if it's done right. You get totally lost in it, and you start to develop a rooting interest in your mind. You want this one over that one, or something like that. And you forget that it's booked. You forget that it's the history of wrestling. You're just glued into those two people going at it, and you're buying it.
And you think for a second it's real. That's all you need.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, just get that split second moment where you go, boy, these guys or these women even, are doing it for real.
Yeah.
And you can still get lost in it. And as cynical and old fart as I am, I can still get lost in a good match. I can tell you that right now.
John Cena, Undertaker, WrestleMania 35 was the last time that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
I believed it. I believed it.
Well, how about you, Leo?
Last one I really believed. Man, I don't know. When you're watching, I guess, FTR against the Briscoes.
Oh,
I know they're all buddies, but the way they were going at each other, the bloodshed and all that, and I'm just getting lost, going like, my God, like, because it just looked, it was kind of hard to watch in some scenarios, and they had 3 matches like that. Now I'm just going like, I got lost, and I thought like, this is incredible, and I didn't care who won because I was just really enjoying it. I was really into it. It doesn't happen so much these days, though.
Pretty full match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it was all of them. The trilogy of them, they were all great, and I got lost in every single one of them. But it doesn't happen that much anymore. I don't know what it is. Maybe I've just seen everything at this point. But I don't know. I try to not get overly critical, but at the same time, it's almost like I've heard someone explain it as and it's a hard way to say it, but it's like chasing that high you got for the first time of drinking, or and you felt great, or you're smoking some pot and wow, this is great, or something. You're always trying to catch that high to make it as good, but it'll never be like that. But you can always hope, maybe at some point it will be. I know it's a bad analogy, but that's my point, though. Yeah, and it's hard to get back to that, though. So.
One of my favorite memories is 1989. It was the Funk Flair I Quit match from the RPI Fieldhouse in Troy, near where my parents lived. And I was coming up, working with WCW. I was distributing tickets on a local radio station, free prizes. And they papered the house, But I remember telling my parents, I'm coming up. Let's watch the main event together. Okay. And they're not wrestling fans, and they watch Flair Funk, and they go, oh my God, those guys are really going at it. My mother's going, wow, look at the guy with the white hair. He's really something. And my father's going, what's wrong with that other guy? He's crazy.
Yeah.
My parents bought it hook, line, and sinker. I loved that moment because it looked real, guys. It looked real.
89, senior year of high school, Anthony Pires was hooked completely into that match.
Mm-hmm. One of the greatest matches I ever saw. And you know what the greatest house match I ever saw was? But it was in New Haven, Connecticut. It was after Steamboat won the title.
Yep.
It was just a house match in New Haven, Connecticut, between the two of them. They worked every bit as hard. You'd swear you were at a pay-per-view.
Are you ready for this one?
Go ahead.
Greatest house show match I ever saw was 96. Worcester Centrum, Worcester, Massachusetts. I ready? I hope you guys are sitting. Savio Vega challenging Goldust for the Intercontinental title. I was blown away by what those guys did. They went for about 25 minutes, and I swore to God Savio was winning. That's how good that was.
Wow.
Savio is very underrated.
And I know, but hear those two names, like, okay, whatever. If you had been in Worcester that night, you would have been blown the F away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Reminds me when I went to Memphis, opening match, Rob Stokowski, who later became Rob Van Dam, versus Night New Hair Danny Davis. Now, Davis went over, but I saw this guy, Rob, and I went back to the office and I went, it's the greatest opener I ever saw. And you know what? It's true. I remember after that match, I had to go to the men's room because I was sitting ringside. So I go back, I had privy to the locker rooms and all that. And I just blurred out, I didn't think anybody would hear this. Wow, that's the best opener I ever saw. And Eddie Marlin says, yeah, I think you're right. They saw it in him too. Because I think the Sheik had sent Sabu and Rob, and they were both on the show.
Yep.
And I'll tell you something right now. Those are the memories, Just sitting there enthralled at an opener. An opener. Yep. I wasn't there to see that. I didn't even know it was on the show. But to see these guys working it that hard, because, I think Rob knew he had something to prove in Memphis at that point. And he's probably getting a $25 payoff to do it. So I'm serious.
Yeah.
So Magic moments? How about you, Liam? Did you ever see anything live that made you go, oh my gosh?
It's gonna sound weird, but it was at what was it, 96, I think. They were holding a big WWF show. This is when they weren't drawing anything in North America, seemingly. But in Toronto, they always did well. So they drew a house at Exhibition Stadium, where the Jays used to play. This is probably a year or two before they actually tore it down. And they packed about maybe 40,000 people in there. And it was the main event was Shawn Michaels against Goldust in a ladder match for the title. And I was just, it was a weird pairing, you know, because Goldust wasn't at the main event level, but they still built it up that way. And you're watching it, and I'd never seen a ladder match live, and I thought this was excellent because it would draw you in just based on that fact alone. I'm seeing something different I haven't seen live before. I've seen them on TV, but this was different. And by the way, I also got to see Jim Cornette against Jose Lothario.
Wow.
Great. Yeah, crazy. And apparently, from everything I heard, Jim Cornette say is that he blew out his knee before the match, and he had to have it heavily taped up. It's a match between those two, you know. You're not expecting much, I guess, but so I got to see that as well. That was kind of interesting.
Liam, it's funny how both you and I have a Dustin Rhodes memory.
Oh yeah,
as a show match, isn't it?
Yeah, I love Dustin Rhodes. He's great. He's still great.
Dustin's underrated.
Oh God, yeah. He's excellent. I've always been a fan of him.
I think finally he's getting appreciated.
I agree with you. I think the history is proving that he is both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. He's as good as it gets. Well, his daddy's little boy, you know.
Yeah,
you know, they both him and Cody picked up that gene and they're running with it. And I'm you know what? They're both great. They both are great.
Hard times on Dustin Rhodes, baby. Why'd they do that, Bobby Smith and Liam? Why'd they put hard times on Dustin Rhodes, baby?
Well, I don't think I can top this at this point. You know what? The idea of the show was to have fun. Did you guys have fun tonight?
I had a blast, Liam. It was an honor to talk to both of you guys, truly.
Same here. I feel the same way about both of you. And I hope you come back. Do you want to come back sometime? Both of you?
Yes.
Sure.
All right. You're both coming back.
Of course.
Folks, I wanna say one more time, Liam, how can the good people out there get a hold of you?
The good people of the world can get in touch with me if you go to my Twitter, Savage Liam, and I have my link tree set up there so you can see all my cool stuff, and I'm getting my new YouTube channel built back up. Trying to add some wrestling to it soon. It's a lot of music stuff right now, but yeah, trying to get that built up, but you can see all my stuff there.
Great. Anthony, you fans can get a hold of you too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My legions of fans can get a hold of me on Twitter at Hoboken_cobbler, or you can go and get a 3-day free trial at pwinsiderelite.com. Once you listen to the melodic tones of my voice and the immortal Corey Strode doing the AEW postgame show, you will just plunk down your money like you just can't give it away fast enough. Yeah, give us a shot. Give us a chance. Give us a listen. I appreciate it.
You got it, buddy. And I'll tell you what, I think you're better than Don Callis, man. You should be doing this. I'm telling you, you really ought to try it. I'm serious. Yeah, I'm watching you in action. And you know why he's got that intensity in his eyes, right, Liam? He's serious about what he said. There it is.
He's scaring me right now just looking at him, and I'm just trying to translate it to everybody in the audio world. But my God.
I wish I was taping this for video. You guys would have a great time watching it. Anyway, this is Liam Savage. This is Anthony Pires. I had a blast, and I hope everybody listening do too. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, that was fun. Great guys, great time. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did bringing it to you. The first ever Outdated Wrestling Hour trivia contest, just for fun, just for laughs. Nice break from what's going on in the real world for a few minutes, isn't it? I certainly hope so. And in its own strange way, I think this is a great look back at wrestling history in many, many different ways. So we'll have to do this again real soon because it went so well. Our website is outdatedwrestlinghour.com. buzzsprout.com, where you can hear every episode with a click of a button of the OWH. You can also learn about the newish Outdated Wrestling Hour fan club. For a nominal fee, you can join with us in the production of the show. Maybe we can get you on the air. Maybe we can interview you here. Maybe we can offer you some prizes. We'll see what we can do for you. But it's to help perpetuate the show and to help you aid in your enjoyment. We're going to have some more Zoom-style meetings very soon. And we'd like you to come and talk. Come and say hi. No matter where you're calling from, you can do it. You can do it audio-visual studio. That's what we use. Or you can just call in on your phone if you feel like it. Any way you'd like to do it. So if you'd like to come and say hi, please do. Talk to us here at the Outdated Wrestling Hour. And you can talk to us also by writing us at outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. Outdatedwrestling@gmail. I'm on Facebook. I'm Bob Smith. You'll see me singing with B.B. King. You can't compare me to B.B. King. He was the greatest. But I'll tell you what, it was a great moment to have, and I hope you enjoyed looking at the photo anyway. Something I'm very proud of. We have many more shows coming. As I record this, we are just done something like 4 shows in 2 days. After I get done complaining a couple episodes ago that, I was getting really tired and I need to take an occasional break, I really feel right now like I need that break. I am really working this thing hard, but I'm hoping it's paying off in your enjoyment. That's why I'm here. I'm hoping you're enjoying these shows, which are usually a look back at the greatest professional wrestling and the greatest wrestlers of all time, along with great guests like Bill Apter and Craig Peters and Liam and Anthony and so many others that have been on the show. So that's it for this one. I hope you had fun. You get your brain teased a little bit. So until next time, I'm Bob Smith. This is the Outdated Wrestling Hour. Please take care of yourselves. And peace to you, your families, and friends.